The Sinister Six didn't come together because Spider-Man needed stronger villains. He already had those. They came together because Marvel needed to prove something. That Spider-Man could survive being overwhelmed just by enduring, not by being the strongest or smartest superhero in the room. The Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1 isn't about a super team of villains. It's about testing Peter Parker's breaking point and seeing what's left when the jokes stop landing. This is the first appearance of the Sinister Six, and it quietly defines Spider-Man forever. Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1 comes out in 1964. Annuals at this point aren't throwaway extras, they're event books. They're where Marvel flexes. By this time, Spider-Man and his villains are already popular and memorable, but they mostly exist in isolation and rarely interact with the larger Marvel universe. The problem presented here isn't can Spider-Man win, it's what happens when he doesn't get a break. So the Sinister Six aren't created for teamwork, they're created for escalation, for raising the stakes. This is Marvel saying, okay, what if everything goes wrong in one day? This book promises one thing: Spider-Man fighting 6 villains in an ultimate showdown. The typical reader's expectation was that these villains would team up and synergize their abilities and tactics in a way that would overpower Spider-Man in a battle royale. The reality was 6 separate fights, one after the other. There was zero synergy amongst the villains, and that's not a flaw in the storytelling, it's the point of it. This isn't a test of Spider-Man's strength, it's a test of his stamina. Each villain gets his shot, and each one chips away at him. Once again, the book isn't asking, can Spider-Man win? It's asking, how long can he keep standing? The first thing I wanted to highlight was Dr. Octopus as the planner. Doc Ock isn't the strongest villain here. He's not the most dangerous. He's the planner. And this issue locks him into this role forever. From this point on, Otto Octavius isn't just a threat. He's the guy who thinks he deserves to win. And that arrogance becomes his defining flaw. The second is the gauntlet structure. I already touched on this, but here's why it matters. Spider-Man doesn't dominate any of these fights. He survives them. And that becomes a template for the character. Spider-Man doesn't win because he's the best. He wins because he refuses to stop. And the third is the cameos. Throughout this issue, several of Marvel's heavy hitters can be seen in the city fighting crime. And when I see this, I'm seeing conflicting messages. The first is that the city doesn't need Spider-Man because everywhere he goes, crime is rampant, and yet it is being stopped without his help. However, the actions of the Sinister Six, ironically, cannot and are not prevented or stopped by any of these other heroes, meaning that Spider-Man himself must act. In this sequence of events, very cleverly frames Spider-Man's compulsive need to fight crime, and it breathes new life into the idea that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And at the start, Spider-Man has temporarily lost his powers, and yet he stands against Electro anyway. And once his powers return, he's confident and quippy. By the end, he's exhausted, but he's still upright, because Spider-Man's superpower here is his recovery, not his strength or speed. And this issue proves that. The Sinister Six don't become a consistent team, but they do become a recurring idea. Marvel keeps revisiting them because the concept is modular. They can add whoever they want to the roster, and the stress test still works, but most versions miss the original intent. Too many adaptations turn them into 6 villains fight Spider-Man at once, and that's not what this was. Final verdict: read this book, but keep your expectations within the proper context. This isn't peak Spider-Man storytelling. It's a prototype, and prototypes are valuable because they show you the blueprint. Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1 teaches Marvel and the audience what Spider-Man actually is. Not a god, not a super soldier, just a guy who keeps going. The Sinister Six didn't break Spider-Man, they defined him. And next time, as we move forward through Marvel's continuity, we'll see more of that. And then we watch how this idea evolves and oftentimes gets misunderstood. We at Story Mode Gaming are not affiliated with Marvel or Disney in any way. We do not own any of the content that is discussed or displayed in this video. Please support the official releases.